Hi, welcome back to my studio. Today we're going to talk about how to draw a portrait using proportions of the face and how to apply those proportions to an actual photograph of a person rather than just drawing that little cartoon that you first do when you do a lesson on proportions of the face. So first I want to tell you about how to choose a photograph. If you're a beginner and you're just getting started learning how to draw the face, a photograph's a really good option because they stay still. You can draw yourself in the mirror, you can draw someone who's willing to sit for you, but a picture is great because you can take your time. So when you're choosing a photograph, I'll show you a little slideshow of some examples of good references. You want to choose something where the person is facing you straight on, like this. So you're not seeing a slight turn to the left or right. You're not seeing up or down. It's just straight on like this. That way you can start out with the very basics of the proportions of the face without worrying about what happens when the person turns their head. So that's important to begin with. Later on, we can talk about what happens when they turn and how that'll affect how you draw their face. So it's good to choose a photo where they're looking straight at you. It's also important that you're able to see lots of crisp, sharp detail. So it's helpful if you can get a photo that's just the head and the shoulders, maybe just a little bit of the shoulders visible, so just like this. I'll show you some examples of that. That way you've got really good focus, you've got lots of detail, you're not cropping in, zooming in on somebody's head from a bigger photo. You've actually specifically got a photo that was made of the person's face. So you'll get the most information to work from. So that's important to know. Okay, so the proportions of the face, I'm going to turn here. I've got my other camera going and it's over top of my iPad, so I'll turn and face that. So here we have a portrait of Kevin, our English instructor at the SAANICH Adult Education Center. I think he's a really great example to draw. And this particular picture of him is perfect because he's looking straight at the camera. So I've got I'm going to use my finger instead of a pencil. I've got a red color primed to use so you can see these lines. When you're first learning to draw the face and you learn about the proportions, you learn that there is a center line. So I'm going to put one here. It runs right down the center of your face. And I'm not sure why it isn't making that red. Let's see. Oh, apparently the layer is hidden. Okay, I'll start a new layer and try that again. So there we go. So that is the center line. So you've got two eyes, two nostrils, two sides of your mouth, two cheeks. Not everybody lines up perfectly. Some people are a little bit asymmetrical, but generally speaking, you could fold your face in half. Not for real. So that line of symmetry is important. And then the other one that you start with is the one that goes across where the eyes are, the eye line. There it is. And that's actually right dead center in the middle of your head shape. So if I change here to drawing freehand, the next thing you would do is draw an oval for the shape of the head. And then you can divide up this bottom section into, there's a line right at the base of the nose. Oops, let's try that again with the proper line drawing function. That was way too wiggly. There's a line at the base of the nose, and then this section below the nose is roughly divided into thirds. So there's a line for the mouth and one for the chin. It really depends on the person. These lines will shift around depending on their specific face. When you first learn the proportions of the face, you're told that they're exactly thirds, but that's actually not true. Everybody's different. So we've got those divided into thirds, and then this space here that we just divided into thirds, if we repeat that space up here and put a line here, that'll give us a guide as to where the eyebrows are. And then we repeat that space one more time right here. That'll give us a general guide as to where the hairline is, which again could change depending on the person. Kevin's the lucky guy. He's still got all his hair. He's not got a receding hairline, but other people do, and some people shave their heads. And some people have lots of bangs. So it really depends on the hairstyle and the person. But just generally speaking, you've got these thirds here, and you've got this bottom section divided into thirds. So that gives us a general idea of where everything is. I'll just change to freehand here. We also need to know that the eyes are roughly, you could actually fit a third eye right in between the other two eyes, like that. So that gives you the spacing of the eyes. So that's good to know. And then the ears begin roughly at the same level as the eyebrows. I'm going to do that again. There's an ear, and there's an ear. Now right now I'm just tracing, but it's to illustrate to you where these guides would fall as you're visually looking at your subject. And then, so his eyebrows are right here. So they kind of fall just beneath that eyebrow line. And then his nose is here. These shapes. The top of the top lip. This is going to look really funny. There. Let's see how it looks without the photo behind it. It's kind of funny. Yeah, that looks goofy. But anyway, it shows you how the proportions of the face fit over an actual photographic reference. So if I turn this off now, let's turn off this layer, and I just have my photographic reference of Kevin in front of me. I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to put this up on the easel I've got set up in front of me so that I can see it. Okay, hope that stays put. Now I've got some paper here. Okay, so you've seen how those proportions of the face kind of work. Now I'm going to actually start on paper. I have a set of pencils here. There they are. And these are like all the drawing pencils. We've got HB, which is the middle of your range. And I think the highest H one is a 4H. There's 4H. And then the highest in the B side of the range is a 6B. No, it's an 8B. There's an 8B there. So we'll talk a little more about what those mean, but generally speaking, H means the pencil is harder or lighter. And when you're first starting a sketch, you always want to start with the lighter lead so that your lines are really hard to see and will easily blend into your drawing later when you're shading it and stuff. So I'm going to start, first of all, just by drawing a nice big loose oval. Let's make sure you can see what I'm doing. Let's draw a nice oval to represent Kevin's face and make sure that you can see it on the camera. There we go. Okay, looks good. Notice that I just was very loose, and there's many lines there, and I didn't try to erase it a bunch of times. I just kept drawing until I had it right. Now what I want to do is that center line. So actually I'm just going to grab a ruler because I think that'll help make this easier. Okay, got my ruler. So I'm going to start with the center line down the middle. And then I'm going to do the eye line, which is right in the middle. That's a common mistake that people make, is they'll put the eyes too far up because we forget that there's hair on top of our head and that it takes some of the area of the face away visually. So there's the eye line. And then I'm going to put in a nose line, just roughly here. And I'm actually looking at the picture of him just to make sure. There, that's a little easier. Okay. There's the nose line, and then his mouth is a little bit below that, and his chin. He has a nice strong chin. We'll put the chin line right here. So I'm adjusting it based on what I see in the picture, just like I showed you when I was doing it on the iPad. There's the chin. And then, so here's the bottom of the head. So this section I'm going to repeat up here. So it's roughly here. He's kind of scrunching his eyebrows down because he's looking into the sun. So his eyebrows are a little lower than they would be if his forehead was relaxed. And then that distance again above, right about here. So you can actually lay out all your proportions to give you some help. So there we go. I've got them all set up now. Now what I want to do is start actually drawing. So here's the eye line. So his eyes are on this line, and I want to make sure that they're the same distance apart as if there was a third eye in the middle there. I'm just going to use a placeholder for now of just a kind of a leaf shape or an oval shape, just to give me a good idea as to where his eyes go. Okay, and then his nose is right here. And I'm actually just drawing from observation now, looking at the picture of him. There's some shadows and such that are defining the bridge of his nose a bit. Okay, so I've got his nose in there. Now I'll actually draw his eyes. So he's really scrunching his eyes closed here. The one thing to remember when you're drawing eyes is that the eyeball is actually like the shape of a ball. It's like a golf ball sized. And it's sitting deep inside the socket that's made by your skull to protect it. And all those tissues, your eyelids and your eyebrows and everything surrounding it, they make different shapes depending on what expression you have happening on your face. So sometimes it takes a bit of time to figure out exactly how to represent that. I'm going to put his iris in here. He's got some good looking crow's feet, little ones, from smiling so much. He's a happy guy on the edge of his eye there, and I can just see his pupil right here. I'm just going to put a little shadow there, and there's actually a highlight which I think I'll put back in later with an eraser perhaps. So there's one eye, and now I'll draw the other one. So at the corners of your eyes you have little tear ducts, and then you can kind of see the edge of the eyeball right there, and then there's these little tear ducts on both sides, like so. So there's that one. Put in his iris there, and I can't really see the white of his eye on the far left there. And the pupil is roughly here with a tiny little highlight hiding in there. There we go. And he's got some, again, nice little smile crinkles at the corners of his eyes. Yep. There we go. There's Kevin's eyes. So that's looking okay on the video too. Yeah, good. Okay. So we've got his eyes, we've got his nose. So what's next is his mouth. So here's the line for his mouth, and the way I've put the line through there, I think it's basically between his two lips there. I think the top of his top lip is roughly here. Now the width of the mouth is usually roughly in line with the inner edge of the iris. So I'm just going to visually drop a line straight down to give me a bit of a guide as to how wide. Sometimes it's a little wider. Looks like his is just a titch wider, so roughly there. He's got a nice gentle smile there on his face. So the corner here is turning up just slightly. It's a little bit lopsided, just a titch lopsided. Now I haven't reached for my eraser until now, but I'm actually going to grab it now because there's some stuff that's kind of bothering me. So I'll just get rid of this mark. There we go. There's the top of his top lip, and then his bottom lip. So I'm really looking closely at the photo now. I'm not just drawing that little cartoon that you do when you first learn about the different proportions of the face. Okay, and then the bottom of his bottom lip is like this. And I'm not going to do the whole outline because it looks kind of weird to do that. So I'm just kind of suggesting it. And then there's a little bit of a suggestion of a chin line right there. And I'm just going to put some just tiny little lines there to suggest the shape of his chin. Yeah. Okay. I've got the video camera here on this dowling right between me and my reference, so I'm having to peer around it. But anyway, okay, so I've got his chin happening, and then on the outside edge of the corners of his mouth, there's a couple of expressive lines from smiling. Most people have lines on their face of some kind from their most common expressions. So if you smile a lot, or you frown a lot, or you make certain expressions a lot, those lines get more and more accentuated the older you get. Kevin's still pretty young. Here we go. And I'm also seeing, oh, he's looking like Humpty Dumpty right now. An egg with a face. We're going to fix that. So the temple to the right of the eye is roughly just shy of being the full width of the eye. It's like maybe 2/3. So I'm going to put a little edge there. Same on this other side. And then I'm going to draw his jaw. He's got a pretty square jaw, actually. That was my cat meowing. I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, you can on this one. They're complaining because I put a drape over the window. Okay, let's do the other side here. Kevin has great cheekbones. Look at that. Let's get those in there for sure. There's his corner of his jaw. There we go. So he actually has some pretty well-defined cheekbones. You can just see the shadows there, especially on this side. There's a really prominent little shadow right here. There we go. And the eyebrows, because he's scrunching his eyes against the sun, his eyebrows are a bit lower. So I'm just gonna put them in here. I'm gonna just do a very light outline of where they are, and then I can draw the hair of the eyebrow a little more detailed later. I'll just give this a bit of a shadow, just some cross-hatching to show where the eyebrow is. And he also has a line right here from scrunching his forehead. So I'll just put that in. And then here's his other eyebrow. Can't quite see it around the camera here. Okay, good enough. Give that a little bit of cross-hatching for shadow. It's actually starting to look like him a little bit. That's good. I think I might also shade the iris a little bit. One of the most important features of any portrait, particularly if the person is looking at you, is that the eyes are really, really accurate, and that the gaze of the eyes is really accurate. If they're not looking right at you, our natural instinct is to make eye contact with any person that's looking at us. And if they're not looking right at you, or one eye's looking one way and one eye's looking the other way, it can look a bit funny. So you want to be careful that the gaze of the person is accurate. Okay, so we got his eyes there. Next, I'm just going to add these expressive little, faint little forehead lines because he's thinking hard. So he's crinkled his forehead. There we go. And then his hair starts, well, he's got some nice little fringy bangs starting right about here. I like that. starts on the side here to come down. So hair can take quite some time to draw. When you're first learning to draw portraits, you don't have to spend a lot of time on the hair. You can just focus on the face if you want. You can even draw a whole lot of bald people if you want to. But it's always kind of nice to give a suggestion of hair. So I'm just going to do that real quick here. Now what's missing are his ears. So the top of the ears is lining up with roughly the top of his eyebrows. It's a little bit obscured by his hair, but there they are. And the bottom of his ear is roughly lining up with the bottom of his nose. So we've got the nose line right here we can use as a guide. So I'll just go up like this. And then just suggest a few of the shapes of the inside of his ear, and that's good enough. Okay, and then the other one, same place, lined up with the eyebrow. This one's got some more distinct hair going on just above it, so we'll put that in there. Just drawing the ear now. And it comes down to just above the nose line. There. And I think he needs a little bit more detail in his hair. His hair always looks good. There we go. I'm no hairstylist. And then if I really wanted to spend the time, I would shade all his hair and make it look good and dark. But there's our guy, Kevin Monkman, looking fantastic. And that is how you apply the various proportions of the face to an actual picture of the face. And I wanted to do this demo very specifically with Indigenous faces. So I'm going to include a little slideshow of some pictures of some of our students and some of our staff in celebration of beautiful faces from the SAANICH community. And the reason I'm doing this is because when I first researched how to draw a face on YouTube, all of the videos I found, the first 10-20 hits, were all Caucasian artists drawing Caucasian faces. And I really wanted to make this friendly for Indigenous learners. So can't change the color of my face, but I can change the references that I'm using. So I've done that just to be more inclusive. Hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching. Oh, oh.